Welcome to the 16th reading of my memoir, The Innocence of Guilt. Guy Fawkes, The Americans, and a Circus. I liked nothing better than to pedal my blue metal scooter from our part of the High Street around the bend into Mill Street. As I flew past the shops, I sensed a kinship with that section of the street. My parents knew all the other shopkeepers by name, therefore it gave me the security of belonging to a big family, the family I'd dreamt of having for so long. Every evening my special job was to hop across St. Andrew's Street and pick up a newspaper from the elderly man who sold them from a stand on the corner. He'd see me coming and smile. A couple of his friends sat on old wooden chairs beside him. Perhaps they knew my grandfather, for they smiled at me too, as at a precious jewel. Din landed a part-time job as gardener cum handyman at the Ship, an inn at the end of Mill Street. He took me there sometimes to see his friends, all easily as old as him. Mostly they sat in a circle, trading old pocket watches. If I became bored and fidgety, he'd send me out into the garden, where the beautiful beds of flowers he tended not only pleased my eyes, but sent up heady fragrances into the air all around me. I'd sit on a bench, eating salt and vinegar crisps handed to me by the lady who owned the establishment. Everyone there treated me like a little princess because I belonged to Din, still his special little girl. 5 days after my 9th birthday, we celebrated Guy Fawkes Day. So gleefully anticipated it was almost on a par with Christmas, the way excitement built up weeks ahead. Colourful fireworks displayed in shop windows, and the community planning of the firework display and construction of the huge bonfire on the green. Our family's special twist to the activities was to make an effigy of one of us. We took turns each year by stuffing worn-out clothes with scrunched-up newspapers to form our Guy, destined to be thrown onto the bonfire with other guys. Mum came out with David and myself a week before with our stuffed figure in Dad's wheelbarrow to beg for loose change towards the purchase of fireworks, and met with a pleasant surprise of generosity not shown to us before. American soldiers from Lakenheath Air Base, a few miles outside of town, filled the streets of Mildenhall. The group that saw us knew nothing of our weird tradition, but answered our call of penny for the Guy by tossing handfuls of coins into the wheelbarrow and calling their buddies over to do likewise. Despite their friendliness, especially to children, my mother wasn't thrilled at the way they sauntered around town as if they owned the place. Just because they have money to throw around doesn't give them the right to buy anything they want, she complained. This resentment stemmed from the fact that precious merchandise arriving in the shops was snatched up by them so fast, housewives, forced to save up for things out of their housekeeping money, had no hope of buying what they needed before it vanished from the shop window. There won't be a decent pot or pan left in town soon if this carries on, I heard her say to a group of women gathered on the street corner. The American presents brought mixed reactions from the locals. While business people loved them, single men resented them for taking up with local women. A general mistrust existed in particular towards the black Americans, still a novelty in England. Talk filled the streets of the danger they presented after 2 incidents occurred within a fairly short space of time. The violent rape of a white woman by a black American soldier shocked everyone. I gingerly walked with Mum by the flat where it reportedly took place, while she complained that none of us was safe anymore, not even in our own homes. The second incident happened opposite our flat. The black American father of the little girl I befriended attacked her mother with a kitchen knife. He fled town, and the police searched for him. My father refused to let me see my little friend anymore. So upset at losing another precious and rare friendship, the same way I'd lost Yvonne back in Colchester, I argued with him. He lost his temper and dragged me upstairs to the bedroom David and I shared, locking me inside. Trapped, I screamed the place down and hung out of the third-floor window, threatening to jump. He let me out because it embarrassed him that all the people on the street could see and hear me. My little friend left town with her mother shortly after the incident, and no one knew where they went. Despite clashes with my father, in March, he gave me a small book from his childhood entitled A Little Hero. No idea why he gave it to me at that particular time. The occasion wasn't my birthday or even my brother's, when sometimes I would be given some small thing to compensate for the fuss made over him. The book told a sad story of an 8-year-old English boy living in colonial India who, because of ill health, is sent home to England to recuperate. 2 years later, his mother, whom he adores, is also sent home, but she dies, leaving him heartbroken. My 9-year-old mind took the story to heart. Depressing, but more so because I mistakenly believed my father received the book from somebody when his mother died, when he was a child. I didn't consider that the old grandmother, imprisoned behind glass in the locket belonging to Dindin, could not have been the mother of a child at the time of her death. Sad thoughts of how my father must have suffered filled my mind as I read the book. That summer, during school holidays, David and I found plenty to amuse ourselves with. We made regular visits to the River Lark to spend lazy days watching the fishermen. In our wanderings, we often found ourselves in other children's homes where the lax rules and freedom from the tension so often still experienced in our own proved a welcome respite. A travelling circus erected tents and set up a fairground on the grassy hill at the top of St. Andrew's Street. Fascinated with the Romany gypsies, I concocted a plan to run away with one of the families whose small boy I'd befriended. A little scared to do it on my own, I talked David into coming with me. The gypsy boy promised to smuggle us into the cramped space of the small, brightly painted, horse-pulled wooden caravan they called home. But when we showed up in the early morning, we faced an empty field. They'd up and disappeared during the night, taking our chance of a new life with them. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to subscribe, like, or comment on this reading, and hopefully you will tune in to the next one. Bye for now.